The unthinkable happened. The Detroit Lions were knocked out of the playoffs. Really disappointing for a lot of people. The dreams and hopes of a downtrodden city once again dashed against the rocks of despair. People were struggling. Some people don't follow it, but for people who do, people who it means a lot to, I got multiple questions. How do we deal with this? What is the Torah perspective on it? I was reminded of a story. Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, Zechron Levracha, said over something like this. He, as you know, is a British citizen, a lifelong soccer fan, football fan. His team was Manchester United, and he once went to a big match. They were playing another team, maybe it was Liverpool, and he was with someone else, some dignitary, maybe a duke or a baron or the queen or someone. And it was a close game, but in the end, Manchester United suffered a loss. And so the duke turns to Rabbi Sachs and says, doesn't this prove there's no God? Your team lost. And Rabbi Sachs turns back to the duke and said, my dear friend, to the contrary, it shows there is a God, but he's not on the side of Manchester United. But in truth, we do have guidance. The Torah does give us guidance for dealing with the highs and the lows, the hopes and the despair that life throws at us. The Mishnah says in Brachos, a person who's davening Shemona Esrei, a person who's reading Kriya Shema, he's connected to Hashem. Afilu melech shoyel b'shloimo, even if the king is asking you, comes over to ask, how are you doing? Lo yafsik, you don't interrupt. Afilu nachash karuch ala keva, even if a snake is wrapped around your ankle, lo yafsik, you don't interrupt. Whether life throws at you super exuberant highs, a king is coming to promote you, or the most devastating, desperate lows, like snake is around your ankle, you don't interrupt. The Mishnah is teaching us, explains the Sfas Emes, the midah of hishtavus. Hishtavus from the word shaveh, equal, equanimity, that a person who lives with bitachon, who lives connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he is anchored to something immovable that doesn't fluctuate. If you keep that connection, if you maintain that connection, lo yafsik, the vicissitudes, the fluctuations of life around you, the president this, one president in, another president out, the sports team up, the sports team down, stock market's up, the stock market's down. Lo yafsik, you don't interrupt. You come to shul every day. Rain or shine, it's a polar vortex, it doesn't matter. You come for your daf yomi, you come for your night seder, you come for davening, you have all those touch points to something that's immovable. It puts all the other fluctuations in life into perspective. Because you have stability, you have balance, because you, lo yafsik, you have that hishtavos, that equanimity that comes from being plugged in and anchored to something eternal and unchanging, to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But it's more than that. When the snake is wrapped around your ankle, or a bee is chasing after you, or a dog, what do you do to protect yourself? If you flip and flop all around and flail wildly, you know what happens? You get bitten. What's the trick? Stay calm. So Nachash Karuch ala Kevei lo yafsik, says the Sfas Emes, it's not just saying stay the course. It's the eitzah, it's the solution, it's the way to protect yourself. Is lo yafsik, if you only will stay calm and stay with that bitachon and stay with that emunah, you were protecting yourself from the attack of the snake. And that is what we see in this week's parsha. The great snake of Mitzrayim, as the Navi in the Haftorah of this week's parsha describes, Tanim Hagodol Harovetz B'soch Ye'orav, the great serpent that lives in the river, referring to Mitzrayim. They were trying to attack Klal Yisrael. And Moshe says to Hashem, we have a real problem. Because the way for the Bnei Yisrael to merit Geula, to merit protection and redemption from this snake, is to be lo yafsik, is to be not interrupted, not sever that connection with Hashem. But unfortunately, it looks like it has. V'lo yishamu el Moshe mikoytze ruach u'me'avoda kasha. They couldn't listen to Moshe. They couldn't hear him because the work got to them. They were down and out and overcome with the challenges of the slavery. And Moshe turns to Hashem and says, Hein b'nei Yisrael lo shamu elai. They're not hearing me. So it's not going to work. They made a hefsek. They made an interruption. They're not connected. And so now the snake's going after them. And Hashem says back, and he speaks to Moshe and Aaron, Vayitzaveh el b'nei Yisrael, and he commands them and connects them, Melashon Tzavta, he connects them to the b'nei Yisrael. To say they have to be connected to you and you're connected to Hashem, and that's how they are going to come out of Mitzrayim. Paro himself is the consummate example of someone who's a flip-flopper. This whole Parshas Vaera, he's going from one extreme to another, depending on the external environment, on the external pressures. Let my people go. Absolutely not. The blood, make them go away. Not, the blood stops, not letting them go. Let them, go away. You can't go. Leave, stay, back and forth and back and forth. Just a flip-flopper. Because he's not anchored to anything. And whatever the external environment, whatever the sports team, whatever the fluctuation of the stock market is, that's where he is. He vacillates from one end to the other. And we see people now with a new president. We see people who stood for one thing under the previous administration, and now they're a complete opposite with the new administration. Not us. We have a steady, constant guidance. We have the Torah. We have tefillah. We're connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We know what's right. We know what's wrong. And life's ups and downs don't move us in the same way. Because deep down we're connected to something that's not movable. And if we feel too tossed around by the vicissitudes, these vacillations that occur around us, it means we need to do more to anchor ourselves. Come to shul. Make sure you have those touch points throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month of Torah and Tefillah, connections to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, where you're learning Hashem's Torah, you're davening to Hashem, you're anchored to the tzur, to the rock, the Creator. And then all life's obstacles, all the ups and downs fade against that stability. And that connection with HaKadosh Baruch Hu will bring us, Be'ezus Hashem, to the ultimate stability with the Geula Shlema. May it remain, amen.